Bitcoins are traceable. This is proven by the recent FBI seizure of the ransom made by Colonial Pipeline to the hackers known as Darkside. This is not to say Bitcoin transactions are completely transparent and people can see all the transactions and who made them. No, of course not. But they are not as anonymous as most people think. Okay, so most people believe that Bitcoin is completely untraceable and completely safe. In fact, this has been one of the main perceived promise of Bitcoin that made it so enticing. That Bitcoin is anonymous and is immune from governmental control and manipulation. So much so that, notoriously, Bitcoin has become the preferred payment method of nefarious characters, which includes hackers and criminals. Actually, Bitcoin's very nature makes it very traceable. All Bitcoin transactions are stored publicly and permanently on the network, also known as blockchains, which means anyone can see the balance and transaction to and from any Bitcoin addresses. That information comes from bitcoin.org. Let that sink in for a minute. That should already foreshadow the traceability of Bitcoin. Let's talk about why people think Bitcoin is anonymous and secure enough to be the payment method of choice for shady characters. Well, mostly this is because Bitcoin identifies users using keys, which are alien-looking codes. There's public keys, which you use to send and receive Bitcoins, which are better known as wallets, and then there are private keys, which you use to access Bitcoins in the aforementioned wallets. Only you are supposed to have the private keys. Well, you know how it works. If not, I put a link to a video that explains it really well in the description below. Now, since you were only identified with meaningless strings of characters, people assume Bitcoin provides total anonymity. But there's a catch. Where do you get Bitcoin? Well, you can mine it, which is a whole other video topic. For now, just know that mining won't get an average person very much Bitcoins at all. So where else do you get it? There are Bitcoin ATMs, which are arguably anonymous, but most people nowadays get their Bitcoin through places like Coinbase or Binance, or other similar places. Now, these places do require that you give your personal information. Now you see, there's now some real identifiable information for someone, and this information goes into the blockchain and it stays there forever. And then this information can be linked to every transaction made on the blockchain with a particular wallet. So with more and more wallets also making transactions back and forth with identifiable information, as you can probably imagine, through some very determined detective work and technology, identity can be found and traced. Now, it's important to note that the Coinbase personal information method is not even the only way a person can be traced on the blockchain. There are things like your face getting caught on camera when you go to a Bitcoin ATM, or your browsing history showing that you went to places like bitaddress.org. And those are just two things that I can think of off the top of my head. There are probably a million more ways. Well, things came ahead when the FBI was able to trace and recover a big part of the ransom money paid to a hacker group known as Darkside for the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. Not all of it, mind you, but a big portion of it. And this news was very public. And this news proved two things: that Darkside isn't undefeatable and that Bitcoin isn't as untraceable as criminals would want. By the way, great job, FBI! Actually, criminals may be better off using good old-fashioned banks, which are in fact much more opaque when compared to blockchains. To get access to bank records, investigators will actually need a warrant and have to go through lengthy procedures to get the green light to look for somebody's bank account through a bank, as I'm sure you can imagine. But with Bitcoin, all the transactions are out in the open, or actually in the blockchain, for everyone to see. It's just a matter of tracing and tracking the movement, and then with good detective work and deduction, using known identity pieces and information, Bitcoin can be traced. It is difficult, of course. It's very, very difficult. But With enough resources, enough tenacity, good enough tools, enough manpower, each with enough will, it can be done. And law enforcement do have all these things. And they also have the power of being the good guys to boot. In fact, according to a New York Times article, a spokesman for Chainalysis, a startup that traces cryptocurrency payments, says that in the end, cryptocurrencies are actually more transparent than most other forms of value transfer. Ouch! If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe for more hobby and tech news and tidbits. Thank you.